As always, we start out seeing how Valentine is doing under the table. Today, we've got a stack of books here to go through. This is about Jane Roberts. And we're going to start out with Jane Roberts, The Seth Material, the extraordinary true story of a personality who has dictated over 5,000 pages on reincarnation, clairvoyance, and the universe beyond the five senses. Jane Roberts is also one of the uh, authors that has influenced me most strongly in my lifetime. And this particular book was published in 1970, so you can see how long she has been around. Now, Jane Roberts and the Seth Material, that it is still studied today. The channeling that she has done is profound, the way I could say it. And what I found interesting, almost discerning, or kind of awkward in a way, concerning, was the fact that if I almost every reading, I would read a page and I could feel my brain kind of going into an altered state. Every single page, it just kind of went like that because she was producing so much information that was so out of the box that I had no framework, no conceptual foundation for, that it was just amazing and astounding. But I mean, I'll give an example. She was talking about past lives, she was talking about parallel lives, she was talking about future lives. Seth was a personality that was actually a future aspect of herself and her husband, both. And she had another one that was called, there was a higher self even that came in, or a future self. But anyway, many people consider that Jane Roberts began or started the New Age movement almost all by herself. I can remember back then that the top three: Edgar Cayce, Jane Roberts, and Ruth Montgomery. They were, I would say, the ones. And if you add Dick Sutphin, you have four of the most prominent and influential, in my mind, speakers of the time. Uh, Dick Sutphin was not channeling, but he was doing the reincarnation stuff. He was doing the self hypnosis stuff. Jane Roberts was channeling the Seth Material. Ruth Montgomery was channeling the group, I think it was called, and Edgar Cayce was also channeling. And this was even before you have the raw material, or the law of one, which still holds, a lot of people hold a value today. Um, so anyway, I'm not going to read much out of these books, but I'm going to show you what they are and talk about them. So it's going to be a fairly short video, but on the other hand, it's like I really I really recommend, if a person is really serious about this stuff, this is some of the highest stuff we got. Dreams, Evolution, and Value Fulfillment. Volume 1 by Jane Roberts. Maybe I'll read parts from the back. Personal Growth Psychology. In this first volume of Dreams, Evolution, and Value Fulfillment, Seth takes us on an odyssey to identify the origins of our universe and our species. He asserts that consciousness units form the basis of all energy and matter, and charts a conscious, self-aware universe that is constantly recreated by our own thoughts, dreams, and desires, illuminating the part that humans play in the greater scheme of things. He suggests that we are alive not only for the continuation of the species, but to add to the very quality of life itself. Other fascinating topics include the role dreams play in the creation of language and technology, the relationship between genetic heritage and reincarnation, how creativity provides a link with the source of all existence, the true power of the imagination and the importance of broadening its scope, a discussion of value fulfillment, or the yearning to enhance the quality of life as a fundamental desire in all life forms. You know, I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the back page here also. That's Jane Roberts. Out of nowhere, it seemed, I found myself having experiences that I considered nearly impossible. Never in our lives had we found ourselves so caught between curiosity and caution, so fascinated and baffled. I came for one purpose this evening, so that you could sense my vitality, and sensing it, know that the grave is not the end. For such a noisy one as I never spoke with the lips of death. Okay, this first one didn't really say a lot, but the Dreams, Evolution, and Value Fulfillment had something to say. This is Dreams, Evolution, and Value Fulfillment, Volume 2. Let's go ahead and read what this has to say. In the first volume of Dreams, Evolution, and Value Fulfillment, Seth presented an in-depth picture of the origin of all life, from the inner dream world to the vast display of material creation. Here in Volume 2, Seth continues his explanation of the physical world as an ongoing self-creation, a direct and intentional outgrowth of the wisdom of the life forms that inhabit it, including humanity. He expands upon his vision of a thoroughly animate universe where virtually every possibility not only exists but is constantly encouraged to achieve its highest potential. In his typical awe-inspiring manner, Seth sheds light on many controversial and complex subjects, including the ways in which our religions have stifled the human spirit, surprising insight into life's meaning and purpose, the genetic basis of faith, hope, and charity, the pursuit of pleasure as a fundamental human need, how each species keeps millions of characteristics within its genetic bank for various contingencies. Dreams are mental work and play combined, psychic and emotionally rich creative dramas. They also involve you in the most productive of enterprises as you begin to play with versions of events that are being considered for physical actualization. To my great surprise and slight annoyance, I found that Seth eloquently and lucidly articulated a view of reality that I had arrived at only after great effort and an extensive study of both paranormal phenomena and quantum physics. Michael Talbot, author of The Holographic Universe. Here's one some of the big ones. The Unknown Reality, Volume 1 of a Seth book by Jane Roberts, Author 6, Seth Speaks. In Seth Speaks, Seth introduced the concepts of probable realities in which our idle daydreams and unfulfilled impulses do take place, in which all possible choices are fully explored. Yet of all those roads not taken, we normally focus on only one that we consider real. Now Seth examines the probable pasts of Jane Roberts and her husband, Robert F. Butts, showing how old photographs often depict selves that literally no longer exist in present terms. Religion and death, sexuality and dreams, creativity and physical health are all underlaid with unknown dimensions whose understanding can change the world as we know it. And indeed, Seth stresses that this unknown reality must be explored. The individual self must expand to include previously unconscious knowledge. Your species is now poised on a threshold. Potentials within the body's mechanisms can immeasurably enrich the race and bring it to levels of spiritual, psychic, and physical fulfillment. I am suggesting ways in which the unknown reality can become a known one. The Unknown Reality, Volume 2 of a Seth book by Jane Roberts. Continuation of that study. In Volume 1 of The Unknown Reality, Seth began his discussion of how idle daydreams and unfulfilled impulses do take place in one or another probable reality. Now, in this concluding volume, he shows precisely how probable realities combine to create the waking life we know. Here, Seth explains the dazzling labyrinths of unseen probabilities and correspondences involved in any decision, as well as how different probabilities influence one another. According to Seth, each atom, molecule, and cell has its own consciousness and powers of choice, and time and space are far more flexible than any textbook can suggest. Here, too, are his discussions of the worlds we visit in dreams and in out-of-body states, a far-reaching exploration of the dynamics of desire and free will, and new practice elements. Seth's specific directions on how to explore your own unknown reality. Appendices include previously unpublished sessions on such topics as godhood, beliefs, Seth's own personal reality, UFOs, and Atlantis, as well as other data from Jane Roberts' ESP classes. A cumulative index covers all the material in both volumes 1 and 2. This final volume of The Unknown Reality dramatically expands the conceptions of selfhood, showing that every human personality is literally infinite in his or her scope and potential. A Seth book, The Individual and the Nature of Mass Events. Speaking exclusively through Jane Roberts, Seth has repeatedly stressed the concept that we create our own reality according to our individual beliefs. But how do our realities merge and combine to form mass reactions, such as the overthrow of governments, the birth of a new religion, wars, epidemics, earthquakes, and new periods of art, architecture, and technology? In this pioneering work, Seth explores the connection between personal beliefs and world events. He pinpoints the unconscious and often negative beliefs pervading science and religion, medicine and mythology, and offers thought-provoking reflections on Darwinism, Freudianism, religions, cults, and medical beliefs. With fascinating and inspiring implications, Seth asserts that the personal impulses we are often taught to see as dangerous, chaotic, or contradictory are instead crucial to the best interests of the species and the natural world, for they lead us to live not only as loving caretakers, but as partners with other species. Only people who trust their spontaneous impulses can be consciously wise enough to choose from a myriad of probable futures the most promising events. The Seth books present an alternate map of reality with a new diagram of the psyche, useful to all explorers of consciousness. As you can see, there's a variety of topics here, and it's deep. This is for people who are serious. It's not for people who are just playing a game. This is for people who really want to make the most of what life has to offer. In this, the magical approach, Seth speaks about the art of creative living. The Seth books are world renowned for comprising one of the most profound bodies of work ever written on the true nature of reality. In this brand new volume of original material, Seth invites us to look at the world through another volume of original material. Seth invites us to look at the world through another lens, a magical one. Seth reveals the true magical nature of the deepest levels of being and explains how we have allowed it to become inhibited by our own beliefs and conventional thinking. The magical approach teaches us to live our lives spontaneously, creatively, and according to our own natural rhythms. It helps us to discover and tune into our natural, instinctive behavior. By applying the principles in this book, readers will learn to trust their impulses and discover the highest expression of their creativity. We are indeed dealing with two entirely different approaches to reality and to solving problems. Methods we will here call the rational method and the magical one. The rational approach works quite well in certain situations, such as mass production of goods or in certain kinds of scientific measurements. But all in all, the rational method, as it is understood and used, does not work as an overall approach to life or in the solving of problems that involve subjective other than objective measurements or calculations. The magical approach has far greater weight if you use it and allow yourselves to operate in that fashion, for it has the weight of your basic natural orientation. These books highly regarded by those that are really in the know, if you will. The nature of the psyche, its human expression, a Seth book by Jane Roberts. Western society has attempted to force all expression of love into sexual activity, or otherwise ban it entirely. Sexual performance is considered the one safe way of using the great potential of human emotions. When it seems to you that society has become licentious, in many ways it is most inhibited. Now Seth, the transpersonality who speaks through Jane Roberts, reveals the true nature of the human personality in its interactions with the flesh. For the first time, he explains why love is naturally creative and explorative. the true basis of homosexuality, lesbianism, and bisexuality, and how for centuries civilization has used sex as an allegory to make sense of its experience. The intimate link between mental images, language, and physiological structure. How dreams don't merely process information but actually gather data. The crucial importance of believing in the innate good intent of all mankind. How each of us chooses our own physical death, sometimes years in advance. New perspectives on creation and evolution, and a discussion of how other people help form your personality. In addition, Seth offers games anybody can play, creative, playful exercises that will help you stretch your own abilities to their full multidimensional potential. This is Jane Roberts also did some writing on her own. Emir's education in the proper use of magical powers. Let's see what it says on the. Well, it says it's illustrated. Let's take a look at some illustrations. Kind of cool illustrations. Look kind of far out. The Convention of the Gods and a Message for Ymir. I'm going to look at the table of contents here, see what the chapter headings are. Oh, it doesn't say. Okay, we'll read the back. Ymir is that part of me and of everyone who at some times has to question the meaning of life and death. Jane Roberts, the author of the best-selling The Seth Material, Seth Speaks, and other Seth books, has written her first children's book, Ymir's Education in the Proper Use of Magical Powers. It is the charming story of a young prince named Ymir who lived when the world was brand new. His father, King Chamil, ruled this wonderful kingdom where people, plants, and creatures lived forever, because death had not been invented. But the kingdom was quickly becoming too crowded, and Ymir's father sent his young son on an adventure to the land of the gods to discover the perfect solution. In his sojourns, Ymir has many surprises. He invents the first lie and finds that it's just as easy to invent truth. He meets conscience and inspiration, leaves his body for the first time, talks to alligators, and invents the change of seasons and the idea of death. Ymir's Education in the Proper Use of Magical Powers is a special book. It can be read as a delightful fantasy, as an adventure story which young children will readily enjoy and identify with, and as a simple and most plausible explanation of life and death. Now this last one of my favorites, it looks thick, but it's actually 3 books in one. The Oversoul 7 Trilogy. The Education of Oversoul 7, The Further Education of Oversoul 7, Oversoul 7, and the Museum of Time. And this really is mind warping in a way because it gets into the idea that the past is happening right now, the future is happening right now, and things in the past can change what's happening to us, and things that are going on in the future can also change what's happening to us. And it's written in a way that makes it believable and makes sense. Jane Roberts' beloved character, Oversoul 7, an ageless student of the universe, explores the entire framework of existence. As we follow Seven's education, our own beliefs about life, death, dreams, time, and space are challenged and stretched, leaving us with a refreshing and provocative perspective on the true nature of reality. For the first time collected in one volume, here is one of the most imaginative tales ever written, inspired by Jane Roberts' own experiences as the author of the immensely popular Seth books. The Adventure of Oversoul 7 are at once an intriguing fantasy, a mind-altering exploration of our inner being, and a vibrant celebration of life. In the education of Oversoul 7, Seven explores the true nature of his being as he learns to communicate with four of his incarnations, four all too human people whose lives are separated by centuries, yet who also coexist. In the further education of Oversoul 7, the adventure continues with Seven facing new lessons as his human incarnations struggle with the problems of sanity, free will, and even godhood. In the third saga of this exuberant adventure, Oversoul 7 and the Museum of Time, Seven is instructed to take up residence in a human body while also journeying to the Museum of Time in search of the codicils. The codicils are eternal truths that bring about the greatest opportunities for vitality, understanding, and fulfillment. Jane Roberts fans and all readers intrigued by reincarnation, dreams, out of body travel, and spirituality will love exploring the cosmos of consciousness with Oversoul 7 and these insightful and genuinely moving novels. As you can see, I am a great fan of Oversoul 7 and Jane Roberts and the Seth material. They have been a profound influence on my own life, and I am going back and going to be rereading them for the second or third time just because I need the boost of creativity and inspiration that they give me. Because one, two, three times reading them, you each time you read through, it's deeper and more profound. That's it for today for the Jane Roberts. I hope you enjoyed this. I've tried to share um, what I could about Jane Roberts, the one who potentially started the whole New Age movement back in the 1970s. Till next time.